Settle in then a little deeper, allowing your body to soften, your shoulders to release any lingering tension. Find your most comfortable space, a sanctuary of quietude, and let your breath slow, gently, softly, becoming a long, even rhythm, a quiet tide within you. With each slow inhalation, feel a sense of calm filling your being, and with each slow exhalation, imagine any worries or distractions gently drifting away, like leaves on a calm stream, disappearing into the distance. We are preparing to embark upon a journey not through physical space, though we will speak of vast distances traversed, but through the immense, echoing corridors of time itself. We are drifting back through the centuries, through the millennia, to an age so distant that its very essence feels like a dream, a shimmering, half-remembered memory on the farthest edge of consciousness. Picture in your mind's eye a world bathed in the soft, ethereal glow of an ancient sun, a sun that rose and set over landscapes of breathtaking majesty, painting the skies with hues of rose and gold, then fading into the deep indigo of night, revealing a canopy of stars, so brilliant, so numerous, that they seem to be scattered by a divine hand. Here, towering snow-capped mountains, ancient and silent, their peaks often shrouded in wisps of mist, touched the very clouds, standing as timeless guardians of forgotten secrets, their slopes echoing with the whispers of ancient winds. Mighty rivers, wide and serene, flowed with a timeless grace through verdant plains, their waters reflecting the endless sky above, carrying not only life-giving sustenance, but also the quiet, enduring whispers of civilizations that blossomed along their banks. Civilizations that built incredible structures, that dreamed vast dreams, and that, most importantly for our journey tonight, recorded their profound insights, their spiritual revelations, and their extraordinary experiences in sacred texts. In the very heart of this ancient land, a place now known to us as India, a civilization of unparalleled depth, wisdom, and spiritual insight gave birth to a literary heritage that continues even today in our hurried modern world, to astonish, to inspire, and to gently challenge our perceptions. These are not merely fleeting stories, quickly told and then forgotten like a passing breeze. Number these are vast, intricate tapestries of human experience, of profound spiritual insight, and of grand, cosmic drama meticulously preserved and passed down through countless generations. For thousands of years, these narratives were chanted, memorized, recited, and revered, ensuring their survival through the ebb and flow of empires and ages. They are enshrined in the elegant, intricate, and deeply resonant language of Sanskrit, a language whose very sounds seem to carry the echoes of antiquity, whose syllables vibrate with a wisdom born of deep contemplation. And within these venerable texts, nestled amongst tales of valiant heroes, whose courage knew no bounds, and whose deeds became legend of wise sages, whose profound wisdom pierced the veil of illusion, and whose insights shaped philosophies, and of the intricate, often bewildering dance of gods and mortals, of divine interventions and human struggles, lies a recurring motif, a truly captivating and utterly bewildering detail that gently, persistently beckons our deepest curiosity like a distant shimmering light on a dark horizon. They speak with a surprising clarity and often with astonishing detail of incredible flying vehicles. They call them Vimanas. The very word itself, Vimana, seems to possess an ancient resonance, a soft, almost ethereal hum that whispers of something extraordinary, something beyond the ordinary bounds of human invention, as we typically understand it for those distant times. It evokes a sense of wonder, a feeling of the impossible made real. Close your eyes again, if you wish, and allow the image to form slowly, effortlessly, in your mind's eye, without any pressure, simply letting it emerge from the quiet depths of your imagination. What do you see? Perhaps a shimmering multi-tiered chariot its surfaces, gleaming with an inner light, or reflecting the sun with an intensity that dazzles, ascending silently, effortlessly into the vast open blue of an ancient sky, leaving no trace but a ripple in the air. Or perhaps a more formidable craft, sleek and powerful, its form both elegant and imposing, moving with an impossible grace through the clouds, its purpose shrouded in a veil of profound mystery, a silent sentinel in the heavens. These are not just fleeting mentions, like a passing cloud in the sky that quickly dissipates from memory, leaving no lasting impression. No, these are descriptions woven deeply into the very narrative fabric of epic poems that span thousands upon thousands of verses. Revered scriptures that guide spiritual practice and philosophical inquiry, and even ancient treatises that delve into various branches of knowledge from architecture to warfare. They speak of magnificent aerial chariots, of flying palaces that could shelter entire retinues of people, of swift and silent conveyances that traversed not only immense earthly distances from one kingdom to another, from one towering mountain range to a distant, shimmering sea, but so it is said, even the boundless star-dusted realms of the cosmos itself, carrying their divine or heroic occupants to other planets, to other dimensions, to other planes of existence, realms beyond our immediate perception. Imagine for a long moment the sheer wonder, the profound awe, the sense of the miraculous that such sights must have inspired in the hearts and minds of those who witnessed them, or those who first heard these incredible tales recounted under the vast, star-dusted canopy of an ancient night. Picture the flickering firelight dancing across the faces of the listeners, the hushed voices of the storyteller, the wide, wondering eyes of children and adults alike as the narrative unfolded. They described a craft that defied gravity, that moved faster than any horse or chariot, faster than any bird, that soared where only eagles dared to fly, and even higher, into the very abode of the gods. These texts passed down through generations with meticulous care, often memorized and chanted in rhythmic cadences, ensuring their survival and accuracy over vast stretches of time. Tell of Vimanas used by deities in grand cosmic battles, their forms described with a precision that can at times feel almost technical, almost like an engineer's blueprint rendered in poetic verse. They speak of their incredible speed, a velocity that utterly defies the imagination, allowing them to cross continents in mere moments, to appear and disappear on the horizon with impossible swiftness, leaving observers bewildered. They detail their astonishing maneuverability, able to hover effortlessly in the air, suspended as if by an invisible thread to ascend and descend with impossible ease, to turn on a dime with a grace that belies their size, defying the very laws of gravity and inertia as we understand them in our modern world. And in some passages with a chilling resonance that echoes across the millennia, a resonance that can send a shiver down the spine. Even today, they even describe their capacity to unleash devastating forces, weapons of immense power that could alter landscapes, scorch the earth, reduce cities to ash, and decide the fate of entire armies in a single cataclysmic moment. These are not just simple chariots drawn by horses or oxen. They are complex, powerful machines, at least in the rich and detailed descriptions given. And so it is from these profound and vivid narratives, these ancient echoes, that a truly compelling question gently arises. A question that has quietly echoed through the ages aloft. persistent hum in the background of our historical understanding, like a distant, ceaseless melody, and one that continues even in our own technologically advanced era to intrigue, to perplex, and to invite deep, unhurried contemplation. Are these accounts, these vivid, almost tangible descriptions of celestial craft, merely the beautiful, imaginative flights of fancy of ancient poets, their minds unconstrained by the mundane realities of their time, soaring on the wings of pure creativity? Are they simply the rich symbolic tapestry of myth, designed to inspire awe, to convey deeper, spiritual truths about the nature of the divine, or perhaps to illustrate the boundless, unfathomable power of the gods, much like the winged chariots of Greek mythology that carried gods across Olympus, the flying carpets of Arabian Nights that whisked heroes to distant lands with a mere thought, or the soaring, fire-breathing dragons of Eastern lore that embodied primal forces of nature and spirit? This interpretation, a comforting and widely accepted one within academic circles, places the Vimanas firmly in the realm of allegory, metaphor, and spiritual symbolism, beautiful and meaningful, yes, but not literal in their physical manifestation. It suggests that the ancient mind, in its profound wisdom, used such grand imagery to convey concepts beyond the mere physical, to speak to the soul rather than to the engineer. Or could it be, just possibly, that these are something more? Could they be the faint, distant echoes of an advanced technology, a knowledge that truly flourished in our distant past, a golden age of human ingenuity that has since been lost to the relentless, eroding currents of time, much like a great river slowly changes its course over millennia, leaving behind only dry riverbeds as a testament to its former powerful flow? This is the tantalizing possibility that draws us in, a whisper from antiquity, suggesting that perhaps, long, long ago, in epochs that predate our recorded history, humanity itself, in its earliest, forgotten epochs, might have reached peaks of scientific and engineering prowess that we are only now beginning to rediscover. Or perhaps, alternatively, it suggests that visitors to humanity from beyond our world, from distant stars, possessed capabilities that were so far beyond comprehension of the people of that era that they could only be described in terms of the divine. From this perspective, the ancient people, lacking the vocabulary or the conceptual framework to describe what they truly witnessed, perhaps advanced propulsion systems operating on principles unknown to us, complex control panels glowing with an inner light, or even the very appearance of extraterrestrial beings, whose forms were unlike anything seen on Earth, might have resorted to describing these advanced beings as gods and their craft as divine chariots, leading them to filter what they saw through the familiar lens of mythology's spiritual power and religious awe. This interpretation suggests that the myths, far from being mere invention or pure fantasy, might rather be a kind of historical record, however imperfect and filtered through a profound cultural and linguistic lens of actual encounters with beings and technologies, far beyond what we typically attribute to ancient civilizations. It's a thought that invites a gentle expansion of our conventional historical timelines, a quiet question mark placed beside our assumptions about the past, inviting us to consider that the story of humanity might be far richer, far more complex, and far more cyclical than we often imagine. This, then, is the enduring enigma of the Vimanas, a mystery that gently invites us to look beyond the conventional, linear narratives of human progress, to open our minds to possibilities that might seem, at first glance, fantastical, even impossible, yet which resonate deeply with something within us that yearns for wonder, for the unknown, for the magic that might still lie hidden in the forgotten corners of time. It is a journey not of seeking definitive, irrefutable, concrete proof, for such proof often remains elusive in the deep, swirling mists of time, like trying to grasp smoke with an open hand. Nor is it an attempt to debunk or confirm any particular theory with a hasty, definitive conclusion, for rushing to judgment often obscures the deeper truths. Instead, it is purely and simply an invitation to wonder, to ponder, and to allow the quiet majesty of these ancient narratives to wash over you like a gentle tide. On a peaceful shore, leaving behind only a sense of calm curiosity and a profound appreciation for the richness of human thought. It is about embracing the mystery, finding comfort in the unknown, and letting your mind wander freely through the boundless possibilities that the human imagination, both ancient and modern, can conjure. It is a journey into the realm of what if, conducted with a sense of profound calm, open-mindedness, and a deep respect for the wisdom of the past, however it may manifest. So, settle in even deeper, allow your breath to become even more steady, more rhythmic, a soft, comforting pulse within you. Let the gentle current of these words carry you away, softly, slowly, into the very heart of this ancient enigma. We are about to step into a realm where the past is not a fixed, unchangeable thing, a mere collection of facts to be catalogued, but a vast echoing chamber of stories, of legends of possibilities, a realm where time itself seems to bend and stretch. Some of these stories, some of these possibilities, might just hold the keys to a forgotten future or a forgotten past, where the gods themselves soared through the heavens in their magnificent, enigmatic Vimanas, leaving behind only these profound, beautiful whispers for us to discover. Let the journey begin, and may your mind find a peaceful, contemplative space within this ancient, beautiful mystery. Let your mind continue to drift, softly, gently, as we move from the broad, shimmering canvas of our introduction into the very heart of the ancient texts themselves. We are now stepping, with quiet reverence, into the sacred libraries of antiquity, where the whispers of time are preserved in the intricate syllables of Sanskrit. Here, within the vast echoing halls of epic poetry and profound scripture, we will encounter the Vimanas not as abstract concepts, but as vivid, almost tangible presences woven into the very fabric of legendary events. Vimanas in ancient Sanskrit texts. Our journey into the textual evidence begins with a profound immersion into the Mahabharata, an epic so vast, so encompassing, that it is said, "What is here may be found elsewhere. What is not here cannot be found anywhere." Imagine its sheer scale, a narrative tapestry woven with over 100,000 verses, making it one of the longest poems ever created by humanity. It is a saga of kings and kingdoms, of dharma and adharma, of profound philosophical discourse, and ultimately of a devastating fratricidal war that shook the very foundations of the world. The Kurukshetra War, the central conflict of the Mahabharata, is a cataclysmic event, a clash of righteousness and unrighteousness, where armies numbering in the millions gather on a vast plain, their banners fluttering, their trumpets blaring, their hearts filled with both courage and dread. It is amidst this monumental backdrop of earthly conflict, of chariots thundering across the dust-choked earth, of elephants trumpeting, and of countless arrows darkening the sky, that the Vimanas make their astonishing appearances. They emerge not as mere fantastical embellishments, but as integral, if mysterious, instruments of both travel and warfare, often piloted by the very gods and divine beings who descend to influence or participate in the human drama. Imagine the scene, the chaos and clamor of battle below, the earth trembling with the impact of 1,000,000 footsteps, and then a sudden, almost supernatural stillness in the air above. A light, perhaps, brighter than any star, or a shadow, vast and silent, passes over the battlefield. Consider, for instance, the divine presence of Krishna, the blue-skinned deity, a charioteer, a counselor, a strategist, and a cosmic force. His interventions in the Mahabharata are numerous and pivotal, and often when he needs to traverse immense distances with impossible speed, or to appear suddenly where he is least expected, the texts hint at or explicitly describe his use of a Vimana. Picture him, then, not merely on a terrestrial chariot, but perhaps ascending into a craft that glows with an inner light, its form both majestic and enigmatic. Imagine the feeling of seeing a god, a being of immense power and wisdom, descend from the very heavens in such a vehicle. It would not be a mere landing. It would be an arrival, a manifestation of the divine, a moment that would etch itself into the collective memory of humanity, blurring the lines between the earthly and the celestial. The descriptions are often brief, almost matter-of-fact, as if such aerial travel were simply part of the divine prerogative. Yet their very casualness lends them a strange weight, suggesting a reality beyond our current grasp. It implies that for the beings of that age, such sights, while awe-inspiring, were perhaps not entirely unheard of, or at least were within the realm of possibility for those with divine power. Then, let your mind drift to Arjuna, the peerless archer, one of the Pandava brothers, a hero of immense skill and spiritual depth. His journey is one of learning and transformation, and at one point he is said to have received a Vimana from the Gandharvas, celestial musicians and divine beings known for their mastery of various arts, including flight. Imagine the wonder of this moment, a human, albeit a divinely favored one, being granted access to such a machine. The texts describe how Arjuna was taught to operate this craft, implying a learning process, a mastery of controls, rather than a mere magical transportation. Picture him, then, ascending for the first time, feeling the lift, the impossible speed, the world shrinking beneath him. What would it be like to see the vast plains, the winding rivers, the distant mountains from such a height? The descriptions often emphasize the craft's ability to move at will, to be guided by thought or intention, suggesting a profound connection between pilot and machine, or perhaps an intuitive interface that transcends our modern understanding of levers and buttons. This Gandharva Vimana, though not as extensively detailed as others, symbolizes the idea that such technology, while perhaps divine in origin, could be operated by those deemed worthy, those who possessed the knowledge. It hints at a science, a method, rather than pure magic. The Mahabharata truly comes alive with the concept of aerial warfare. This is where the descriptions of Vimanas become most vivid and, at times, most chilling. Imagine the traditional battlefield, a scene of immense human suffering and heroism, suddenly transformed by the appearance of these flying machines. The texts speak of warriors engaging in combat high above the ground, their Vimanas maneuvering with astonishing agility, dodging attacks and returning fire. How did they fight? What weapons were used from these incredible craft? The narratives mention fiery darts, blazing missiles, shining spears, and other projectiles that were launched from the Vimanas, causing widespread destruction below. Picture these weapons not as simple arrows, but as bursts of energy, streams of light, or explosions that could consume entire battalions. The descriptions of their destructive capabilities are often apocalyptic, speaking of forests being incinerated, cities being leveled, and vast armies being annihilated in moments. This is where the ancient accounts begin to resonate with a strange familiarity to our modern understanding of warfare, hinting at a level of destructive power that seems far beyond the bows and swords of antiquity. The very idea of aerial bombardment, of precision strikes from above, is startlingly contemporary in its implications. The texts consistently emphasize the incredible speed and maneuverability of these Vimanas. They are described as being swift as thought, a poetic phrase that conveys a velocity almost beyond comprehension. Imagine a craft that could appear on the horizon in one moment and be directly overhead in the next, defying the limitations of any known ancient transport. They could hover silently, suspended in the air, allowing their occupants to observe or strategize. They could ascend and descend with impossible ease, vanishing into the clouds, only to reappear suddenly, like a flash of lightning. Some passages even describe them as being able to disappear and reappear, perhaps hinting at cloaking technology or a distortion of light. The imagery used is often drawn from nature: the swiftness of a falcon, the suddenness of a thunderclap, the silent glide of a cloud. Yet these natural phenomena are always surpassed by the Vimanas' capabilities. This incredible agility suggests not just brute force propulsion, but a sophisticated control system, allowing for intricate aerial ballets and evasive maneuvers that would be impossible for any conventional aircraft. And then there are the destructive capabilities of these Vimanas and the weapons they deployed. The Mahabharata contains passages that describe the use of weapons from these flying machines that are truly terrifying in their scope. Imagine a single projectile launched from a Vimana, capable of causing a blinding light, a deafening roar, and a wave of heat that could melt mountains. The texts speak of Agneastra, Brahmastra, and other divine missiles that, when deployed from the sky, could cause widespread devastation. The impact of these weapons is described in terms that resonate with modern fears of atomic or energy-based warfare: the earth shaking, the sky turning dark, the wind howling, and all living things being consumed by fire or disease. This is where the ancient narratives often provoke the most profound questions. Are these purely mythological exaggerations, metaphors for the ultimate power of the gods, or are they distant, distorted memories of a technology so advanced, so destructive, that its true nature could only be conveyed through the language of divine wrath? The sheer scale of the destruction described, far beyond what any ancient army could inflict with conventional means, compels us to pause and consider the possibilities. Beyond the grim realities of battle, Vimanas were also instruments of celestial journeys. The Mahabharata, like other Puranic texts, describes heroes and sages being transported to the heavens, to the abodes of the gods, or to other planes of existence. Imagine the sense of transcending earthly bounds, of leaving the familiar world behind and soaring into the cosmic vastness. What would it be like to look down upon the entire world, seeing it as a vast, shimmering tapestry of blue and green, the clouds like soft, white blankets below? These journeys were not just about reaching a destination. They were often transformative experiences, allowing the traveler to gain new perspectives, to meet divine beings, and to witness wonders beyond human comprehension. The Vimana, in this context, becomes a vessel of spiritual ascent, a bridge between the mortal and the immortal realms, a silent witness to the majesty of the cosmos. Now, let us gently shift our focus from the grand, often somber, canvas of the Mahabharata to the more enchanting and spiritually resonant epic of the Ramayana. This beloved tale, attributed to the sage Valmiki, is a journey of love, devotion, duty, and the triumph of good over evil. It tells the story of Prince Rama, an incarnation of Vishnu, his virtuous wife Sita, and his loyal brother Lakshmana, as they navigate exile, abduction, and a monumental quest to rescue Sita from the demon king Ravana. The Ramayana is filled with wondrous creatures, magical powers, and profound moral lessons. And within its narrative, one particular Vimana shines forth with unparalleled brilliance and detail, the magnificent Pushpaka Vimana. The Pushpaka Vimana is perhaps the most famous and most vividly described of all the Vimanas in ancient Indian literature. It is not merely a vehicle. It is described as a veritable flying palace, a self-moving aerial chariot, capable of carrying many people and shining like the very sun itself, or perhaps even brighter, a beacon in the sky. Let us delve into its captivating details. Its origin is steeped in divine lore. The Pushpaka Vimana was originally crafted by Vishwakarma, the divine architect and engineer of the gods, for Kubera, the god of wealth. However, it was later seized by Ravana, the powerful and arrogant demon king of Lanka, through sheer force and conquest. This origin story adds to its mystique. It is a divine creation, a symbol of immense power, now in the hands of a formidable antagonist. Imagine the grandeur of a craft built by the architect of the gods. Its design would be flawless, its materials exquisite, its capabilities beyond mortal comprehension. Its appearance is consistently described with awe. It is self-moving, meaning it required no external force like horses or oxen, implying an internal propulsion system. It is said to be shining like the sun, suggesting a radiant exterior, perhaps made of polished gold, gleaming metals, or even emitting its own light. More strikingly, it is often depicted as palace-like or multi-storied, indicating a spacious and luxurious interior, far removed from the cramped confines of a typical chariot. Picture vast chambers, ornate decorations, comfortable seating, perhaps even gardens or fountains within its aerial confines. It was a vehicle of comfort and luxury, designed for divine or royal travel, not merely utilitarian transport. The descriptions evoke a sense of grandeur, a floating abode rather than a simple machine. Crucially, the Pushpaka Vimana was capable of carrying many people. Unlike smaller Vimanas mentioned for individual gods or heroes, this was a grand transport. Imagine not just Rama and Sita, but Lakshmana, Hanuman, and countless members of their retinue, all comfortably accommodated within its spacious interior. This capacity further emphasizes its nature as a sophisticated mode of transport, capable of mass movement, rather than just a personal conveyance. It suggests a level of engineering that could support significant weight and provide ample space for its occupants, even during long journeys. As for its operation, the texts imply a remarkable level of sophistication. It was self-moving, and some interpretations suggest it was controlled by thought or by the will of its occupants. This points to an intuitive interface, perhaps a form of biofeedback or mental command, rather than manual controls. Imagine merely thinking of a destination, and the Vimana responds, effortlessly gliding towards it. This concept of an automatic or intelligent craft responding to the subtle commands of its pilot is truly revolutionary, even by modern standards. It speaks to a profound understanding of consciousness and its interaction with technology, or perhaps a technology so advanced that it appears to respond to pure will. The most famous and poignant journey of the Pushpaka Vimana occurs at the end of the Ramayana, during Rama's journey home from Lanka back to Ayodhya. After his triumphant victory over Ravana and the rescue of Sita, Rama, along with Sita, Lakshmana, Hanuman, and their allies, ascends into the Pushpaka Vimana for their return journey. Imagine this scene. The long, arduous war is over, the victory secured, and now, a peaceful, majestic flight home. From the comfort of the Vimana, Rama points out various landmarks to Sita below. The vast ocean they had crossed, the bridge built by the Vanara army, the forests, the mountains, the rivers, and the cities they pass over. This narrative detail provides a unique aerial view of ancient India, a perspective that would have been impossible without such a craft. Picture the serene landscape unfolding beneath them, a living map seen from the heavens. The clouds drifting by, the sun glinting off distant peaks, the winding ribbons of rivers. This is a perfect opportunity for serene, descriptive language, allowing us to visualize the world as seen from a Vimana. The emotional significance of this journey is immense. It is a return to peace, a reunion with loved ones, a journey of healing and restoration, all facilitated by this incredible flying palace. The very act of flying becomes a symbol of liberation and triumph. Finally, imagine the return to Ayodhya. As the Pushpaka Vimana descends from the heavens, slowly, gracefully, towards the waiting city, the people of Ayodhya, who have long awaited their beloved prince, are filled with overwhelming joy and wonder. They see this magnificent flying palace, shining like a star, descending from the sky, bringing their hero home. The landing itself would be a spectacle, a moment of profound significance, blurring the lines between the mundane and the miraculous. The Vimana, having served its purpose, is then returned to Kubra, its rightful owner, symbolizing the restoration of cosmic order. While the Mahabharata and Ramayana provide the most detailed and captivating accounts, it is important to acknowledge that the concept of aerial vehicles, or divine chariots, also appears in other ancient Sanskrit texts. These mentions, though often briefer, reinforce the widespread nature of this concept across ancient Indian literature, suggesting it was not an isolated idea, but a recurring motif in their worldview. One text that often comes up in discussions of Vimanas, though it requires careful handling, is the Vaimanika Shastra. This text, meaning Science of Aeronautics, purports to be an ancient treatise on Vimana construction and operation. It claims to describe various types of Vimanas, their propulsion systems, the materials used, and even the clothing pilots should wear. However, it is crucial to understand its controversial nature and disputed authenticity. While it claims ancient origins, scholarly analysis has shown that the Vaimanika Shastra was actually written in the early 20th century by a pundit named Subbaraya Shastri, who claimed to have received the knowledge through psychic channeling. Its language and content contained anachronisms, and its descriptions of propulsion and flight defy known laws of physics, often being more fantastical than genuinely scientific. For instance, it describes engines that would be impossible with the materials and understanding of its purported ancient era. Therefore, while it is interesting as a modern attempt to interpret and elaborate on the Vimana concept, it cannot be considered an authentic ancient source for the existence or design of Vimanas. We mention it gently, as a later echo or interpretation, a curious footnote in the ongoing fascination with these ancient flying machines, rather than a primary piece of evidence. It highlights humanity's enduring desire to understand and perhaps recreate the wonders described in the older texts. Beyond these major epics, the Puranas, a vast collection of ancient Hindu religious texts, and even some of the older Vedas contain brief mentions of aerial vehicles or divine chariots. These references, while not as elaborate as those in the Mahabharata or Ramayana, nonetheless contribute to the pervasive idea of beings traversing the skies in magnificent conveyances. They speak of gods traveling between realms, of celestial beings visiting Earth, and of sages ascending to the heavens. These mentions, though fleeting, serve to reinforce the idea that the concept of aerial transport was deeply embedded in the cosmological and mythological framework of ancient India. It was a natural part of their understanding of the universe, a testament to a worldview where the boundaries between earth and sky, human and divine, were often fluid and permeable. As we gently conclude this chapter, allowing these ancient narratives to settle within your mind, consider the profound implications of these descriptions. Whether they are the glorious products of a boundless imagination or the faint, distorted echoes of a forgotten reality, their presence in these venerable texts is undeniable. They invite us to ponder the nature of myth, the limits of ancient knowledge, and the enduring human fascination with the skies above. The stories of the Vimanas, from the battlefields of Kurukshetra to the triumphant return to Ayodhya, continue to whisper across the millennia, inviting us to listen closely and to wonder. Let these images and narratives gently fade into the background of your thoughts as we prepare to explore the very characteristics and capabilities of these enigmatic flying machines in our next quiet contemplation. Let your mind continue to drift, softly, gently, as we move from the broad, shimmering canvas of our introduction, from the echoing halls where ancient voices first whispered of aerial wonders, into a more focused contemplation. We are now drawing closer, with quiet reverence, to examine the very essence of these enigmatic craft. Here within the vast intricate descriptions found in the Sanskrit texts, we will endeavor to understand as best we can the very characteristics and capabilities of these Vimanas, not as abstract concepts, but as vivid, almost tangible presences woven into the very fabric of legendary events. Characteristics and capabilities of Vimanas imagine, then, that we are granted a rare glimpse, a privileged moment, to observe these Vimanas up close, to study their forms, to feel the subtle hum of their power, to understand, however faintly, what made them soar. The ancient texts, while often poetic, surprisingly offer details that allow us to build a mental picture, to almost touch the contours of these magnificent machines. What emerges is not a single uniform design, but a wondrous variety, each type seemingly suited for different purposes, yet all sharing the fundamental ability to defy gravity and traverse the skies. Design and appearance, forms of wonder, the descriptions of Vimanas are as diverse and captivating as the constellations themselves. They are not all cast from a single mold. Rather, they seem to encompass a spectrum of aerial forms, each with its own unique majesty and function. Some Vimanas are depicted as multi-storied palaces, grand and opulent, floating gracefully through the air. The most famous example, of course, is the Pushpaka Vimana from the Ramayana, which we touched upon. Picture it, not merely a chariot, but a veritable aerial mansion, perhaps with several levels, adorned with intricate carvings, shimmering with precious metals like gold and silver, its surfaces polished to a blinding sheen. Imagine walking through its spacious interior, perhaps through vast chambers with high ceilings, ornate pillars, and comfortable seating arrangements, all while the world drifts silently by beneath large panoramic openings or windows. Could there have been internal gardens, perhaps even fountains? Their gentle splash a soothing counterpoint to the silent glide through the heavens? Such a craft would not be about speed alone, but about comfort, luxury, and a sense of serene majesty, a mobile throne room for deities and kings. It suggests a technology capable of sustaining a large, self-contained environment, perhaps even regulating its internal atmosphere and temperature, making long journeys not just possible, but pleasurable. The sheer scale and complexity implied by a multi-storied palace in the sky challenges our conventional understanding of ancient engineering, inviting us to wonder about the structural integrity, the power source, and the environmental controls necessary for such an undertaking. Then there are descriptions that evoke bird-like structures, graceful and aerodynamic, perhaps resembling colossal eagles or mythical swans, their forms designed for swiftness and agility. Imagine a Vimana with sweeping wings, not necessarily for flapping, but for stability, or perhaps even for generating lift in a way we don't fully comprehend. Its exterior might be smooth, seamless, reflecting the light like polished obsidian or burnished bronze. Such a design would speak of speed, of effortless gliding through the air, perhaps even of a predatory grace when used in aerial combat. The inspiration from nature is clear, yet the execution is purely mechanical or technological, a fusion of organic form and engineered function. One might imagine the subtle curves, the way the light would play across its metallic feathers, the almost silent whoosh as it cut through the air, leaving only a faint ripple in its wake. These bird-like Vimanas suggest a focus on efficiency and perhaps a more direct application in aerial maneuvers, less about luxury and more about purpose-driven flight. Other accounts speak of spherical objects, perfectly round or orb-like, perhaps glowing with an inner light, silent and mysterious. Imagine a seamless sphere, perhaps rotating gently or simply hovering with an uncanny stillness. These descriptions often bring to mind modern concepts of unidentified flying objects, suggesting a form that is inherently stable and capable of omnidirectional movement, without the need for conventional wings or rudders. A spherical Vimana might imply a propulsion system that is entirely internal, perhaps creating a localized gravitational field or manipulating space-time itself, allowing for effortless movement in any direction. The simplicity of the sphere belies a profound complexity within, hinting at a technology so advanced that its external form is reduced to its most fundamental and efficient shape. These are the most enigmatic of the descriptions, prompting us to wonder about their purpose, perhaps reconnaissance, or even interstellar travel, given their implied self-containment and efficiency. As for the materials from which these Vimanas were constructed, the texts often speak of precious metals, gold, silver, copper, suggesting not just their value, but also their inherent properties, perhaps lightness, strength, or even conductive qualities for their power systems. Imagine the sun glinting off a golden Vimana, a dazzling spectacle in the sky. But more intriguingly, there are mentions of unknown alloys, materials that were perhaps unique to that ancient age, possessing properties that allowed for incredible strength. Heat resistance, or even the ability to interact with the Vimana propulsion system in ways we cannot yet conceive. Could these alloys have been composites, or perhaps even intelligent materials that could change their properties? The idea of materials unknown to modern metallurgy opens up a realm of speculation, hinting at a lost science of material engineering. These materials would have needed to be incredibly light yet immensely strong to withstand the stresses of high-speed flight and aerial combat. They might have possessed self-repairing qualities, or perhaps even a subtle luminescence, allowing the Vimanas to glow in the night sky. The very fabric of these machines, then, seems to have been as wondrous as their flight. And what of their internal features? Beyond mere spaciousness, imagine the comfort, the intricate design. The texts hint at interiors that were not just functional, but beautiful, perhaps adorned with precious stones, intricate carvings, and soft, luxurious fabrics. Could there have been advanced life support systems regulating oxygen, pressure, and temperature, making high altitude or even space travel possible? The idea of windows or viewing portals that allowed occupants to gaze upon the world below or the stars above suggests transparent materials of immense strength. Perhaps these were not just simple panes, but advanced display screens, offering augmented reality views or even projecting images of distant lands. The controls, though rarely detailed, are implied to be intuitive, perhaps responding to vocal commands, gestures, or even the thoughts of the pilot, suggesting a profound interface between consciousness and machine. Imagine a pilot merely intending a direction or a speed, and the Vimana responds effortlessly. This level of internal sophistication speaks to a civilization that valued not just function, but also aesthetics and the comfort of its occupants, even in a flying machine. Propulsion and flight, defying the Earth's embrace. The very heart of the Vimana mystery lies in its ability to defy gravity, to soar through the heavens. The texts offer tantalizing clues about their propulsion and flight characteristics, painting a picture of technology far beyond the conventional understanding of ancient times. The most consistent and striking description is that Vimanas were self-moving. This is a profound statement. It means they required no external force, no horses, no oxen, no sails catching the wind, no oars propelled by human strength. This immediately implies an internal power source, a contained energy system that generated the necessary force for lift and propulsion. Imagine the silence of such a machine, or perhaps a low, steady hum, rather than the roar of engines or the flapping of wings. What kind of energy could power such a craft? The texts do not explicitly name a fuel, but the concept of self-moving suggests a closed-loop system, perhaps drawing energy from the environment itself or from a highly efficient, long-lasting internal reactor. This concept alone places Vimanas firmly in the realm of advanced technology, far removed from the mechanical limitations of the ancient world. Their speed is consistently described in terms that evoke the impossible. They are swift as thought, a poetic phrase that conveys a velocity almost beyond human comprehension. Imagine a craft that could appear on the horizon in one moment and be directly overhead in the next, defying the limitations of any known ancient transport. They could cross vast distances, oceans, mountain ranges, entire continents in mere moments, making journeys that would take months or years by conventional means. This incredible speed suggests not just powerful propulsion, but also the ability to withstand immense g-forces, implying some form of inertia dampening or gravity manipulation for the occupants. What would it feel like to accelerate to such speeds without being pressed back into your seat, to decelerate without being thrown forward? It speaks to a profound understanding of physics, or perhaps a technology that operates on principles entirely different from our own. The maneuverability of Vimanas is equally astonishing. They could hover silently. Imagine a massive craft, suspended perfectly still in the air, without any visible means of support, no propellers churning, no jets roaring. This ability to remain motionless in the sky, observing or strategizing, is a hallmark of advanced aerial technology, reminiscent of modern VTOL aircraft, but without the noise and visible thrust. The stillness would be eerie, almost supernatural, allowing for precise positioning and observation. Ascend and descend with impossible ease. They could rise straight up into the sky or descend gracefully to the ground, without the need for runways or a long approach. This vertical capability speaks to a direct manipulation of gravity or a powerful lift system that operates independently of forward motion. Imagine a Vimana appearing silently from the clouds, descending vertically, and landing softly in a clearing, then just as effortlessly rising straight back into the sky. Move in any direction. The texts imply omnidirectional movement, forward, backward, sideways, diagonally, with fluid grace. They could turn on a dime, perform intricate aerial ballets, and execute evasive maneuvers that would be impossible for any conventional aircraft. This agility suggests not just brute force propulsion, but a sophisticated control system, perhaps even a form of vectoring thrust or a complete manipulation of the local gravitational field. Disappearance and reappearance. Some accounts hint at the ability of Vimanas to vanish from sight and reappear elsewhere, perhaps suggesting cloaking technology. Extreme bursts of speed that make them momentarily invisible, or even a form of localized teleportation. Imagine a Vimana suddenly shimmering and fading from view, only to reappear moments later miles away. This capability pushes the boundaries of even our most advanced theoretical physics, hinting at mastery over light, space, or time. Now, let us gently consider the most specific and often debated concept related to Vimana propulsion, the idea of Mercury vortex engines. This concept, while intriguing, is primarily found in later interpretations and texts like the Vaimanika Shastra, which, as we noted, is a modern work claiming ancient origins. However, the idea itself, even if not truly ancient in its detailed articulation, is fascinating and worth exploring for its imaginative power. Imagine, then, the concept of such an engine, a contained system where mercury, a liquid metal, is somehow heated or agitated to create a swirling vortex. The theory, as imagined, suggests that this spinning mercury, perhaps energized by some unknown force or resonance, could generate immense power, or even create an anti-gravitational effect. Picture a chamber where mercury glows and swirls, generating a force that lifts the entire craft. This concept, while defying known laws of physics as we understand them today, mercury, when heated, simply vaporizes. And a vortex of mercury does not inherently produce anti-gravity, is remarkable for its ingenuity. It suggests a closed-loop system, perhaps a form of clean energy that could power a craft indefinitely without external fuel. The very notion of a mercury vortex evokes a sense of alchemical knowledge, of manipulating fundamental elements to achieve extraordinary feats. It hints at a science that understood properties of matter and energy in ways that we are only now beginning to theorize about, perhaps relating to concepts like superconductivity, plasma physics, or even exotic matter. Even if the Vaimanika Shastra is a modern fabrication, the idea of a mercury-based propulsion system is a powerful testament to the ancient or modern imagination trying to rationalize the inexplicable flight of the Vimanas. It offers a glimpse into how a technologically advanced civilization might have conceptualized its power sources, perhaps hinting at a form of propulsion that is silent, efficient, and incredibly powerful, leaving no exhaust, no visible means of thrust. Weaponry and warfare. The sky as a battlefield, the Mahabharata, in particular, paints vivid and often terrifying pictures of aerial combat, where Vimanas were not just transport vehicles, but formidable instruments of war. The very idea of battles fought in the sky, with flying machines deploying devastating weapons, is a concept that resonates chillingly with our modern understanding of warfare, yet it is described in texts thousands of years old. Imagine the deployment of weapons from Vimanas. How were they launched? The texts suggest various methods, perhaps from internal bays, opening silently to unleash their destructive payload, much like a bomber aircraft, or from external mounts, glowing with an ominous light before firing. The descriptions imply a level of precision and control, allowing warriors to target specific areas or enemy formations from above. The types of weapons mentioned are truly remarkable and often defy conventional ancient weaponry, fiery darts, and blazing missiles. These are not simple arrows or javelins. Picture them as concentrated bursts of energy, streams of plasma, or incendiary devices that could ignite vast areas. Imagine a Vimana unleashing a volley of these fiery darts, turning a section of the battlefield into an inferno, melting armor and consuming everything in their path. The imagery is of intense heat and light, far beyond what could be generated by conventional fire. Shining spears and thunderbolts. These evoke the power of lightning, focused and directed energy. Imagine a Vimana firing a thunderbolt that strikes with the force of a natural electrical storm, but with pinpoint accuracy, causing immense shockwaves and destruction. These suggest directed energy weapons, perhaps sonic or electrical in nature, capable of disabling or destroying targets with immense force. Astra. This is where the descriptions become truly apocalyptic. The texts speak of astra, divine weapons bestowed by the gods, each with its own unique and terrifying power, often invoked through mantras. The Brahmastra, for instance, is described as a weapon of immense, indiscriminate destruction, capable of annihilating entire armies and causing widespread environmental devastation. Its effects are chillingly reminiscent of nuclear or thermonuclear weapons. A blinding light, a deafening roar, a wave of intense heat that melts everything in its path, followed by a prolonged period of darkness, drought, and disease. Imagine the sky turning dark, the wind howling, the very earth trembling, and all living things being consumed by an unseen fire or suffering from strange ailments. The descriptions speak of its ability to cause mutations, sterility, and long-term environmental contamination, details that are eerily similar to the aftermath of atomic detonations. The Agniastra could create immense conflagrations, incinerating vast areas. Other astra are described as causing illusions, inducing sleep, or even manipulating weather patterns. The destructive capabilities attributed to these weapons, when deployed from Vimanas, are on a scale that seems utterly impossible for ancient civilizations. We are talking about not just individuals being killed, but entire armies being annihilated, cities being leveled, and vast landscapes being scorched and rendered uninhabitable. This is where the ancient narratives often provoke the most profound and unsettling questions. Are these purely mythological exaggerations, metaphors for the ultimate, unfathomable power of the gods, designed to instill awe and fear? Or are they distant, distorted, perhaps even traumatized memories of a technology so advanced, so destructive, that its true nature could only be conveyed through the language of divine wrath and cosmic cataclysm? The sheer, overwhelming scale of the destruction described, far beyond what any ancient army could inflict with conventional means, compels us to pause, to listen intently, and to consider the possibilities, however unsettling they may be. Furthermore, the concept of aerial combat implies not just offensive capabilities, but also defensive measures. Did Vimanas possess shielding? Could they become invisible or intangible? Some texts hint at such abilities, suggesting that Vimanas could employ various illusions or cloaking devices to evade detection or attack. Imagine a Vimana suddenly shimmering and becoming transparent, or simply vanishing from the enemy's sight. Could they have possessed force fields, deflecting incoming projectiles? Or perhaps countermeasures to disrupt enemy weapons? The very existence of aerial warfare suggests a sophisticated understanding of both offense and defense in the three-dimensional space of the sky. The nature of aerial combat itself, as hinted at in these texts, is also fascinating. We can imagine dogfights between individual Vimanas, maneuvering rapidly to gain advantage. We can picture strategic bombing runs, targeting enemy strongholds or supply lines. And certainly, reconnaissance missions observing enemy movements from a safe, elevated distance. The psychological impact of these flying machines on ground troops would have been immense. A sudden shadow, a blinding light, an inexplicable explosion from the sky, instilling fear and breaking morale. The sky, once a realm of gods and birds, becomes a new, terrifying battlefield. As we gently conclude this chapter, allowing these detailed descriptions of Vimana characteristics and capabilities to settle within your mind, consider the profound implications. Whether these accounts are the glorious products of a boundless imagination or the faint, distorted echoes of a forgotten reality, their presence in these venerable texts is undeniable. They challenge our assumptions about the past, inviting us to ponder the nature of myth, the limits of ancient knowledge, and the enduring human fascination with the skies above. The very idea of such machines, with their advanced propulsion, incredible speed, astonishing maneuverability, and devastating weaponry, continues to whisper across the millennia, inviting us to listen closely and to wonder. Let these images and concepts gently fade into the background of your thoughts as we prepare to explore the various interpretations and theories that attempt to make sense of these enigmatic flying machines in our next quiet contemplation. Let your mind continue to drift, softly, gently, as we move from the detailed descriptions of the Vimanas themselves, from their forms and their astonishing capabilities, into a deeper, more reflective space. We are now entering a realm of interpretation, a quiet chamber where the ancient whispers meet the inquiries of the modern mind. Here, within the vast, intricate tapestry of human understanding, we will explore the different lenses through which these enigmatic flying machines have been viewed, as profound mythological narratives or as tantalizing echoes of a forgotten technology. Interpretations and theories, myth versus technology, as the soft light of dawn begins to paint the eastern sky, or as the gentle hush of twilight settles around you, let us consider the profound question that naturally arises from the ancient texts we have explored. What are we to make of these Vimanas? Are they purely the magnificent creations of a boundless human imagination, woven into the rich fabric of myth and legend? Or do they hint at something more tangible, something that existed beyond the realm of poetic fancy, perhaps even a technology that defies our conventional understanding of the ancient world? This is the core tension, the quiet debate that has unfolded over centuries, inviting us to ponder the very nature of truth, history, and belief. Mythological interpretation, the language of the soul. Let us first settle into the comforting embrace of the mythological interpretation, a perspective deeply rooted in the understanding of ancient cultures and their profound ways of expressing truth. From this viewpoint, the Vimanas, like many other wondrous elements in ancient epics, are primarily symbolic. They are not meant to be taken as literal physical machines in the way we understand aircraft today. Instead, they serve as powerful allegories, as metaphors, and as vehicles for conveying deeper spiritual, philosophical, and moral truths. Imagine the ancient storytellers, the rishis and poets, living in a world where the natural elements, the sun, the moon, the stars, the wind, the thunder, were seen as manifestations of divine power. For them, the sky was not merely an empty expanse. It was the abode of the gods, the realm of celestial beings, a place of immense power and mystery. When they wished to describe the extraordinary power of their deities, their ability to transcend earthly limitations, to appear anywhere at will, to intervene in human affairs with supernatural swiftness, what better way to convey this than through the image of a flying vehicle? The very nature of ancient epics, like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, is one of grand narrative, of heightened reality. These are not historical chronicles in the modern sense, meticulously recording facts and dates. Rather, they are vast, intricate tapestries designed to teach Dharma, to explore the complexities of human nature, to illustrate the cosmic dance of good and evil, and to inspire awe and devotion. Within this framework, divine powers and fantastical elements are not anomalies. They are commonplace, an expected part of the narrative. Think of the gods of Olympus soaring on winged chariots, or the angels of Abrahamic traditions descending from heaven on clouds of glory, or the dragons of Eastern lore carrying heroes through the skies. Across almost every ancient culture, the idea of beings traversing the air, defying gravity, is a universal expression of divinity, of transcendence, of power beyond mortal ken. The Vimanas, in this light, fit perfectly into this global pattern of mythological expression. The Vimanas, therefore, can be seen as potent symbols. They convey the immense, unfathomable power of the divine. When Krishna or Indra or Rama appear in a Vimana, it immediately signifies their extraordinary status, their ability to operate beyond the limitations of the earthly realm. It is a visual representation of their omnipotence, their omnipresence, their capacity to influence events from a celestial vantage point. The speed of the Vimana, swift as thought, symbolizes the instantaneous nature of divine will and action. The ability to appear and disappear, to hover silently, speaks to the gods' mastery over the very fabric of reality, their ability to manifest and withdraw at will. Furthermore, these flying machines often serve to illustrate cosmic order and the vastness of the universe. When heroes like Arjuna or sages are transported to the heavens in a Vimana, it is not just a physical journey. It is a spiritual ascent. It signifies the interconnectedness of different realms, the earthly, the celestial, the divine. It expands the worldview of the listener, reminding them that their world is but a small part of a much larger, grander cosmos, populated by beings of immense power and wisdom. The Vimana becomes a bridge between these worlds, a vessel for spiritual enlightenment and expanded consciousness. Consider also the concept of Leela, or divine play, a central idea in Hindu philosophy. The gods, in their infinite wisdom and power, engage in Leela, manifesting in various forms, performing various acts, sometimes seemingly whimsical, sometimes profound, all for the unfolding of cosmic drama and the teaching of humanity. The appearance of Vimanas, their battles, their journeys, can be seen as part of this divine play, a grand spectacle designed to engage, instruct, and inspire. Similarly, the concept of Maya, or illusion, suggests that the material world itself is a grand illusion, a manifestation of divine consciousness. In this context, the fantastical elements like Vimanas are simply part of the divine Maya, appearing real within the narrative, but ultimately pointing to a deeper spiritual reality beyond the physical. The literary function of Vimanas is also paramount in this interpretation. They serve to inspire awe and wonder, to elevate the narrative beyond the mundane. Imagine the impact on an ancient audience, the sheer thrill of hearing about flying chariots, of battles fought in the clouds, of gods descending from the sky. This sense of awe reinforces the sacredness of the texts and the majesty of the beings described within them. They also serve as powerful tools for teaching Dharma. The context in which Vimanas appear often involves moral choices, battles between good and evil, and the consequences of actions. The divine intervention, often facilitated by a Vimana, reinforces the idea of cosmic justice and the importance of righteous living. Moreover, ancient cultures often expressed advanced concepts through familiar metaphors. When describing something truly extraordinary, something beyond their immediate technological grasp, they would naturally use the language and imagery available to them. A Vimana, described as a chariot of the gods, could be seen as the closest analogy available to describe a swift, powerful, airborne vehicle. The fiery darts or thunderbolts launched from them could be metaphors for destructive forces that were simply beyond their direct experience, perhaps representing the power of lightning or volcanic eruptions, or even meteors, but amplified to a divine scale. The Mercury vortex engine concept, even if a later elaboration, could be seen as an attempt to rationalize the inexplicable power source of a divine vehicle using the most mysterious and powerful elements known to them. From this mythological perspective, the meaning of the Vimanas is paramount, not their literal historicity. Their purpose is to enrich the narrative, to convey spiritual truths, to inspire devotion, and to expand the human imagination beyond earthly confines. They are beautiful, powerful symbols that resonate with the deepest aspirations of the human spirit, the desire to transcend limitations, to soar, to reach for the divine. The fact that they are described with such vividness simply speaks to the profound imaginative capacity of the ancient poets and the enduring power of their storytelling. Ancient astronaut theory. Echoes from the stars? Now, let us gently shift our perspective, allowing our minds to consider a different lens, one that moves from the purely symbolic to the potentially literal. This is the realm of the ancient astronaut theory, a fascinating and often controversial idea that gained significant traction in the 20th century and continues to spark debate and curiosity today. The core premise of the ancient astronaut theory is that extraterrestrial beings visited Earth in ancient times, interacting with early human civilizations. These visitors, possessing technology far beyond anything known to humanity at the time, were subsequently misinterpreted by ancient peoples as gods, angels, or other divine beings. Their advanced craft, therefore, would have been described in the only language available to the observers, that of mythology and divine power. From this viewpoint, the Vimanas are not mere allegories. They are interpreted as actual spacecraft, piloted by these extraterrestrial visitors. Imagine for a moment the profound culture shock of an ancient civilization witnessing a gleaming, silent craft descend from the sky, its occupants emerging with knowledge and abilities that seemed utterly miraculous. How else would they describe such an event, except as the arrival of gods from the heavens? The proponents of this theory meticulously examine ancient texts, including the Sanskrit epics, looking for specific textual elements that, they argue, can be interpreted as technical details rather than poetic metaphors. Vimanas as spacecraft, the descriptions of their speed, maneuverability, and capacity to travel vast distances, are seen as evidence of advanced propulsion systems far beyond anything conceivable by ancient human engineering. The self-moving aspect is interpreted as internal power, perhaps anti-gravity or advanced propulsion. Gods' deities as extraterrestrial beings. The gods who pilot these Vimanas are reinterpreted as extraterrestrial visitors. Their supernatural powers, their advanced knowledge, their sudden appearances and disappearances, and their involvement in human affairs are seen as characteristics of technologically superior beings, rather than literal divine entities. Their divine weapons, like the Brahmastra, are reinterpreted as highly destructive energy weapons or even atomic bombs, whose effects were observed and recorded, albeit through the lens of mythological language. The too advanced for their time argument. A central pillar of this theory is the idea that certain ancient achievements, whether the construction of the pyramids, the precision of ancient astronomical knowledge, or the descriptions of Vimanas, were simply too advanced for the known technological capabilities of the civilizations that produced them. This perceived gap leads to the conclusion that an external, more advanced influence must have been at play. The detailed descriptions of Vimanas, with their complex forms and capabilities, are seen as evidence of a technology far beyond the supposed Bronze or Iron Age. Specific textual elements interpreted as technical details. Descriptions of light and sound. A Vimana shining like the sun might be interpreted as a craft with powerful external lights or a glowing energy field. A deafening roar might be the sound of its propulsion system. Destructive power. The apocalyptic effects of weapons like the Brahmastra are directly compared to nuclear explosions, with descriptions of intense heat, blinding light, fallout-like symptoms, and long-term environmental devastation. Proponents argue that such precise descriptions of mass destruction could only come from observation or a very clear warning. Flight characteristics, the ability to hover, to ascend and descend vertically, to travel silently, and to move omnidirectionally, are seen as direct descriptions of advanced flight mechanics rather than magical feats. The idea that ancient people lacked the vocabulary to describe advanced technology. This is a crucial point for ancient astronaut theorists. They argue that when confronted with something utterly alien and technologically superior, ancient observers would have naturally resorted to the only framework they had: religion and mythology. A complex control panel might be described as a divine jewel, a communication device as a voice from the heavens, and a sophisticated machine as a chariot of the gods. The technical details, though filtered through this lens, are still discernible. Erich von Däniken, a prominent figure in the ancient astronaut movement, popularized many of these ideas in the mid-20th century, though the concepts themselves predate his work. He and others meticulously scoured ancient texts from around the world, including those from India, seeking patterns and commonalities that suggested a shared extraterrestrial influence. The cargo cult analogy is often used here. Imagine isolated indigenous tribes encountering modern aircraft or ships for the first time. Lacking the understanding of engineering, they might interpret these machines and their operators as divine, incorporating them into their myths and rituals. The ancient astronaut theory suggests a similar dynamic played out on a global scale in deep antiquity. The implications of this theory are profound for human history and origins. If true, it would mean that humanity's development was not purely indigenous, but influenced by external intelligence. It would reshape our understanding of ancient civilizations, their knowledge, and their achievements. It suggests a hidden chapter in our past, one where the stars were not just distant lights, but potential homes for our ancient visitors. It invites us to look at ancient myths not as mere stories, but as potential historical records, albeit encoded in the language of wonder and awe. Suppressed knowledge, lost technology. A golden age of human ingenuity? Moving now to a third, equally compelling interpretation, we consider the theory of suppressed knowledge or lost technology. This perspective shares some common ground with the ancient astronaut theory in that it posits the literal existence of advanced technology in antiquity, but it differs fundamentally in its source. Here, the focus is not on extraterrestrial influence, but on human achievement. This theory suggests that ancient human civilizations, particularly in places like India, possessed a level of scientific and technological understanding that was far more sophisticated than commonly believed, perhaps even surpassing certain aspects of our own current capabilities, a testament to a forgotten golden age of human ingenuity. From this viewpoint, the Vimanas are interpreted as actual human-engineered aircraft. They were built, operated, and perhaps even designed by ancient human civilizations themselves. This challenges the conventional linear view of technological progress, which typically places advanced aeronautics firmly in the 20th century. Instead, it suggests a cyclical view of history, where periods of advanced knowledge are followed by periods of decline or loss, only to be rediscovered much later. The arguments for this theory often draw upon the remarkable evidence of advanced knowledge in other fields. Within ancient India, mathematics, the development of the decimal system, the concept of zero, sophisticated algebra, and trigonometry, astronomy, highly accurate calculations of planetary movements, stellar positions, and the precession of the equinoxes, far beyond what simple observation would allow. Metallurgy, the famous iron pillar of Delhi, which has resisted rust for over 1,600 years, demonstrates an astonishing mastery of ironworking that was not replicated in Europe until much later. Other examples include sophisticated alloys and metal casting techniques. Medicine, advanced surgical procedures, knowledge of anatomy, and complex pharmacological understanding found in ancient Ayurvedic texts. Urban planning and architecture, the sophisticated drainage systems of the Indus Valley civilization, the precise geometry of temple construction, and the engineering feats involved in building massive structures. Proponents argue that if ancient Indians possessed such advanced knowledge in these diverse fields, why is it implausible that they also achieved mastery in aeronautics? The detailed descriptions of Vimanas, with their various forms, propulsion systems, and capabilities, are seen as evidence of this lost scientific prowess. The theory posits the existence of a golden age, or pre-cataclysmic, civilization that reached a high level of technological advancement. This civilization might have existed before major global cataclysms that wiped out much of its knowledge and infrastructure. The survivors, perhaps few in number, would have carried fragmented memories and distorted accounts of this lost age, which then became integrated into their myths and legends. The question then arises, how might this knowledge have been lost? Cataclysms, natural disasters could have destroyed records, infrastructure, and the very environment in which such technology could thrive. Invasions and societal decline, wars, conquests, and the breakdown of social order could lead to the loss of specialized knowledge as the focus shifts to mere survival. Libraries could be burned, scholars killed, and traditions broken. Secrecy. Perhaps the knowledge of Vimana construction was highly esoteric, guarded by a select few, priests, sages, or a ruling elite, and never widely disseminated. If this elite perished or chose to keep the knowledge secret, it could easily have been lost to the general populace. Technological obsolescence or resource depletion. Perhaps the resources required to build and maintain Vimanas became scarce, or the technology itself proved too complex or dangerous to sustain. The interpretation of textual details as engineering specifications is central to this theory. The Mercury vortex engine concept, while problematic from a modern physics standpoint, is interpreted as a genuine attempt to describe an exotic propulsion system. Perhaps it wasn't Mercury as we know it, but a symbolic representation of a powerful fluid energy source, or a specific element with unique properties. Some theorists even propose that the Mercury was used in a supercooled, superconducting state, or as part of a plasma confinement system. The mentions of specific materials, unknown alloys, are seen as hints of advanced metallurgy. The precise flight maneuvers, hovering, vertical flight, omnidirectional movement, are interpreted as actual capabilities of these machines, implying sophisticated control systems and aerodynamic or anti-gravitational design. The descriptions of Vimanas as multi-storied or palace-like are seen as evidence of complex internal structures, perhaps with multiple decks, life support systems, and crew quarters, much like a large modern aircraft or spacecraft. It is in this context that the Vaimanika Shastra, the science of aeronautics, often reappears in discussions. As we noted, this text was compiled in the early 20th century, not ancient. However, proponents of lost technology might argue that even if it's not an original ancient text, it represents a modern attempt to reconstruct or channel lost knowledge, or at least a reflection of the enduring belief that such knowledge once existed. It shows the human desire to find the how-to guide for these ancient flying machines. While its technical details are largely dismissed by mainstream science as unworkable, its very existence highlights the persistent fascination with Vimanas, and the belief that a detailed science of flight was once known. The concept of cyclical history, where civilizations rise and fall, gaining and losing knowledge, is a powerful underlying theme for this theory. It suggests that humanity's journey is not a straight line of continuous progress, but rather a series of peaks and valleys, with periods of great advancement followed by periods of regression. The Vimanas, in this view, are evidence of one such peak, a testament to a forgotten era when human ingenuity reached heights we are still striving to reclaim. It invites us to look at the past not as primitive, but as potentially complex and multifaceted, holding secrets that could still inform our future. It also raises questions about what knowledge we might be losing today, or what future generations might rediscover from our own lost technologies. Finally, the idea that some knowledge was esoteric, passed down secretly through generations of initiates, also plays a role. Perhaps the true science of Vimanas was never meant for the masses, but for a select few who understood its power and its potential for misuse. If this lineage was broken, the knowledge could have vanished, leaving only the public myths as a faint echo. As we gently conclude this chapter, allowing these diverse interpretations to settle within your mind, consider the profound implications of each. Whether you lean towards the poetic beauty of mythology, the tantalizing possibilities of extraterrestrial visitation, or the inspiring notion of a lost human golden age, the Vimanas remain a powerful symbol. They challenge our assumptions about the past, inviting us to ponder the nature of truth, the limits of ancient knowledge, and the enduring human fascination with the skies above. The stories of the Vimanas, from their forms and capabilities to the myriad ways we interpret them, continue to whisper across the millennia, inviting us to listen closely and to wonder. Let these images and concepts gently fade into the background of your thoughts as we prepare to explore the fascinating comparisons between these enigmatic flying machines and the aircraft of our modern world in our next quiet contemplation. Let your mind continue to drift, softly, gently, as we move from the profound interpretations of the Vimanas into a realm where the ancient whispers meet the tangible realities of our modern world. We are now entering a space of quiet comparison, holding the shimmering descriptions of antiquity in one hand and the solid, engineered marvels of our present in the other. Here, we will explore the fascinating parallels and the profound divergences between the enigmatic flying machines of ancient India and the aircraft that grace our skies today. Comparisons to modern aircraft. As the quiet hum of your surroundings gently fades and your thoughts become as soft as a summer breeze, let us embark on a contemplative exercise. We have journeyed through the ancient texts, glimpsing the Vimanas in their mythical grandeur, pondering their nature as either divine chariots or forgotten technologies. Now, let us bring them into the light of our current understanding, holding them up against the backdrop of our own technological achievements. This is not an exercise in proving or disproving, but rather in observing and noticing the echoes and the stark differences, allowing our minds to bridge the vast chasm of time with gentle curiosity. Imagine for a moment standing on a modern airfield. You see the sleek lines of a jetliner, the powerful rotors of a helicopter, the agile form of a fighter jet. Now, superimpose upon this image the descriptions of the Vimanas. Do you see a faint resemblance, a shared aspiration, a common principle at play? Or do the ancient accounts seem utterly alien, belonging to a realm beyond our current grasp? Let us explore these intriguing intersections and separations. Similarities. Whispers across millennia. It is quite remarkable, when one truly settles into the ancient narratives, how many functional similarities can be drawn between the descriptions of Vimanas and the capabilities of modern aircraft. These parallels are often what spark the most intense curiosity and fuel the theories of lost technology or ancient visitors. Consider first the astonishing maneuverability attributed to the Vimanas, particularly their ability to hover and to perform rapid ascent and descent. Picture a modern helicopter, its rotors churning, creating the necessary lift to rise straight up from the ground, to hang motionless in the air, or to descend precisely onto a small landing pad. Now, recall the descriptions of Vimanas doing precisely this, but often with an added layer of grace and silence. The Pushpaka Vimana, for instance, is described as effortlessly settling down or rising straight up into the sky. This is the very essence of VTOL capability, a feature that is highly prized in modern aviation for its tactical advantages and its ability to operate without traditional runways. Jump jets, like the Harrier or advanced drones, possess this very ability. Yet, the ancient texts often imply a silent hover, or a low, steady hum, rather than the deafening roar of a modern helicopter or jet engine. Imagine the eerie stillness of a massive Vimana, suspended perfectly motionless above a battlefield, its occupants observing the chaos below, or a divine being descending silently from the clouds, a profound contrast to the noisy, powerful machines of today. This quietude suggests a propulsion system that is fundamentally different, perhaps one that manipulates gravity or utilizes an energy source that produces minimal sound. Then, there is the concept of rapid ascent and descent. Think of a modern rocket launch, a powerful surge that propels a craft straight up into the heavens, or the swift, controlled descent of a space capsule returning to Earth. The Vimanas are described as ascending, like a flash of lightning, or descending with the swiftness of a bird. This implies not just vertical movement, but rapid vertical movement, far beyond what any hot air balloon or early human glider could achieve. This capability would be crucial for both military advantage and for long-distance travel, allowing them to quickly reach cruising altitudes or descend to their destinations. Furthermore, the texts hint at omnidirectional movement. Vimanas could move forward, backward, sideways, and turn on a dime. This is a capability that even many modern fixed-wing aircraft struggle with, requiring complex maneuvers to change direction. It is more akin to the agility of advanced drones or experimental aircraft that can vector their thrust. Imagine a Vimana performing intricate aerial ballets, dodging incoming attacks with impossible agility, or simply repositioning itself with fluid grace. This suggests a highly sophisticated control system, perhaps even a form of direct thought-to-machine interface, allowing for instantaneous and precise adjustments in three-dimensional space. Next, let us consider the chilling parallels in weapon deployment from aerial platforms. The Mahabharata, in particular, paints vivid and terrifying pictures of aerial combat, where Vimanas were not just transport vehicles, but formidable instruments of war. This concept of warfare waged from the skies, with flying machines deploying devastating weapons, is a concept that resonates chillingly with our modern understanding of military strategy, yet it is described in texts thousands of years old. Picture modern bombers unleashing their payloads, or fighter jets engaging in dogfights, launching missiles that streak across the sky. The ancient descriptions of fiery darts, blazing missiles, and thunderbolts launched from Vimanas find echoes in our contemporary arsenal. Fiery darts could be interpreted as early forms of incendiary bombs or even laser weapons, capable of setting vast areas ablaze. Blazing missiles might be primitive rockets or guided projectiles, designed to strike targets with immense force and destructive power. Thunderbolts evoke the terrifying power of directed energy weapons, perhaps sonic or electrical in nature, capable of causing immense shockwaves and localized destruction, much like a modern electromagnetic pulse weapon. But it is with the descriptions of the Brahmastra and other divine astra that the parallels become truly unsettling, almost prophetic. The effects of the Brahmastra, as detailed in the Mahabharata, bear an uncanny resemblance to the aftermath of a nuclear detonation. Imagine the ancient texts describing a blinding light, a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe, an incandescent column of smoke and flame, as bright as 10,000 suns, rose in all its splendor. This is strikingly similar to the initial flash of an atomic bomb. A deafening roar. The explosion is described as shaking the earth, causing immense noise, much like the shock wave of a modern bomb. Intense heat. The texts speak of heat so intense it could melt mountains, cause water to boil, and make hair and nails fall out. This is a direct parallel to the thermal radiation of a nuclear blast. Widespread destruction and contamination. The descriptions mention forests being incinerated, animals dying, food becoming poisoned, and long-term effects on the environment and living beings, including mutations and sterility. These are chillingly similar to the concepts of nuclear fallout and radiation sickness. Darkness and unnatural phenomena. The sky turning dark, the wind howling unnaturally, the sun and stars appearing distorted. These atmospheric disturbances are consistent with the immediate effects of a large-scale explosion. While these descriptions are embedded in a mythological context, their specificity regarding the effects of the weapons, rather than just their magical nature, leads many to wonder if they are distant, distorted memories of an actual event, or a profound ancient understanding of ultimate destructive power. The very idea of such weapons being deployed from aerial platforms, influencing the outcome of vast wars, is a concept that transcends the conventional image of ancient warfare and aligns disturbingly well with the realities of the 20th and 21st centuries. Finally, let us consider the concepts of propulsion. The most consistent description of Vimanas is that they were self-moving, implying an internal power source. This is a fundamental departure from ancient modes of transport that relied on external forces like animals, wind, or human muscle. Modern aircraft, of course, are powered by internal combustion engines, jet engines, or rocket engines, all of which are internal, self-contained power units. While the specific Mercury vortex engine concept, as found in later texts, is scientifically problematic by current understanding, the idea of a contained, non-combustion, exotic power source that could generate immense thrust or anti-gravity is a concept that continues to be explored in theoretical physics. The very notion that ancient texts conceived of a machine that did not rely on visible, external means of propulsion is a significant conceptual leap, suggesting an intuitive grasp of advanced engineering principles or a memory of them. The passenger capacity and comfort of the Pushpaka Vimana also draw interesting parallels. Described as a flying palace capable of carrying many people, it evokes the image of a large, luxurious passenger aircraft. Imagine the spacious cabins of a modern airliner, designed for comfort during long journeys, or even the opulent interiors of private luxury jets, complete with bedrooms, dining areas, and entertainment systems. The Pushpaka Vimana, with its multi-storied structure and ability to accommodate Rama's entire retinue, suggests a similar emphasis on comfort and capacity, far beyond a simple transport vehicle. It implies a level of structural engineering and internal environmental control that would be necessary for such an undertaking, allowing occupants to travel in leisure and safety at high altitudes. Differences and limitations. The veil of time and imagination. While the similarities are intriguing, it is equally important to acknowledge the profound differences and the inherent limitations in drawing direct comparisons between ancient descriptions and modern technology. These divergences often highlight the gap between myth and empirical reality, and the unique ways in which ancient cultures understood and expressed their world. Perhaps the most significant difference, and indeed the greatest challenge to a literal interpretation, is the lack of concrete archaeological evidence. Despite the vivid textual descriptions of Vimanas, there is no physical evidence whatsoever of their existence. We have no crashed Vimana wreckage, no ancient blueprints etched in stone, no archaeological sites revealing Vimana workshops or landing pads. Contrast this with the abundant archaeological evidence for other ancient technologies: the remains of chariots, ancient ships, sophisticated tools, magnificent buildings, and elaborate irrigation systems. If Vimanas were truly physical machines, especially ones involved in large-scale warfare, one would expect to find some tangible remnants. The absence of such physical proof is a powerful argument against their literal existence as engineered craft. The Earth, despite its vastness, has yielded countless treasures from antiquity, yet no Vimana has ever been unearthed. This silence in the archaeological record is a stark counterpoint to the vibrant literary accounts. Secondly, many of the fantastical elements often exceed known physical laws. While some capabilities of Vimanas can be loosely compared to modern technology, others venture deep into the realm of the impossible, at least by our current understanding of physics. Invisibility and instantaneous teleportation. Some texts hint at Vimanas being able to vanish from sight or reappear elsewhere without traversing the intervening space. This goes beyond mere cloaking technology and suggests a mastery over space-time or light, manipulation that is far beyond anything we can currently conceive. Survival of occupants from extreme forces. If the Brahmastra's effects are truly comparable to nuclear weapons, the survival of the Vimana's occupants would require shielding technology far beyond anything we possess, capable of withstanding immense heat, radiation, and shock waves. This implies a level of material science and energy manipulation that seems almost magical. The Mercury vortex engine. Implausibility. As discussed, a simple Mercury vortex, based on current physics, would not provide lift or propulsion. Mercury, when heated, vaporizes, and its properties do not inherently lend themselves to anti-gravity. This suggests either a profound misunderstanding of the ancient description, or the description itself is purely symbolic, or it refers to a physics that is entirely unknown to us. The lack of a clear, scientifically plausible mechanism for their propulsion remains a major hurdle for literal interpretations. Modern aircraft rely on well-understood principles of aerodynamics, thrust, and lift, principles that are entirely absent in the Vimana descriptions. Thirdly, the scale of destruction described often aligns more with mythological hyperbole than verifiable historical events. While the Brahmastra's effects are eerily similar to nuclear weapons, the sheer scale of annihilation described in the Mahabharata, with millions dying instantly and entire landscapes being utterly transformed, often feels like poetic exaggeration rather than a precise historical record. Epic poetry, by its very nature, uses hyperbole to convey the immense power of gods and the catastrophic nature of conflict. The purpose is to evoke awe, fear, and a sense of cosmic drama, not to provide a forensic account of a battle. While there are historical records of devastating wars, none describe the kind of instantaneous, widespread, and environmentally transformative destruction attributed to the Astra. The line between literary device and factual reporting becomes very blurred here. Finally, and perhaps most fundamentally, is the distinction in who pilots these craft. Modern aircraft are built, operated, and understood by human beings, based on human science and engineering. Vimanas, in contrast, are often piloted by gods or divinely favored heroes. This distinction is crucial. If the Vimanas are vehicles of the gods, then their capabilities are inherently tied to divine power, not necessarily to human engineering. A god's ability to fly, to appear and disappear, to wield immense power, is part of their divine nature, not necessarily a technological achievement that can be replicated by mortals. Even when humans like Arjuna are said to pilot them, it is often after receiving divine instruction or a divine gift, implying that the underlying knowledge or power is not inherently human. This fundamental difference in agency, divine versus human, profoundly impacts how we interpret the Vimanas. Are they machines that any sufficiently advanced civilization could build, or are they extensions of divine will, operating on principles beyond mortal comprehension? As we gently conclude this chapter, allowing these fascinating parallels and profound divergences to settle within your mind, consider the enduring power of these ancient narratives. The Vimanas, whether literal machines or symbolic flights of imagination, continue to hold a mirror to our own technological aspirations and fears. They invite us to ponder the limits of our historical knowledge, the boundless capacity of the human imagination, and the ever-present mystery of what truly lies hidden in the mists of our distant past. Let these comparisons gently fade into the background of your thoughts as we prepare to explore the counter-arguments and skepticism surrounding the literal interpretation of Vimanas in our next quiet contemplation. Let your mind continue to drift, softly, gently, as we now turn our gaze from the intriguing possibilities and fascinating parallels to a different, yet equally important, perspective. We have allowed ourselves to wonder, to imagine, and to explore the ancient whispers of the Vimanas through various lenses. Now, with the same quiet contemplation, let us consider the arguments that invite us to ground ourselves in the more conventional understanding of history and the nature of ancient texts. This is the realm of counter-arguments and skepticism, a space where critical thinking gently illuminates the path, reminding us of the importance of evidence and context. Counter-arguments and skepticism, the grounded perspective. As the gentle rhythm of your breath continues to deepen, and the soft quietude of your surroundings embraces you, let us settle into a different kind of reflection. We have allowed our imaginations to soar with the Vimanas, to envision them as magnificent flying palaces or as echoes of advanced technology. Now, with a calm and discerning mind, let us explore the viewpoint that invites us to approach these ancient narratives with a measure of caution, to consider the arguments that root us firmly in the known realities of history, archaeology, and literary analysis. This is not to diminish the wonder of the myths, but rather to understand them within their proper context, appreciating their profound beauty and meaning without necessarily interpreting them as literal historical accounts of advanced machines. Imagine for a moment a scholar, perhaps seated in a quiet library, surrounded by ancient texts, yet also keenly aware of the vast body of archaeological and scientific knowledge accumulated over centuries. This scholar approaches the Vimana narratives not with a desire to debunk or dismiss, but with a commitment to evidence, to logical consistency, and to understanding the world as it was, based on what we can empirically verify. From this grounded perspective, while the stories of Vimanas are undeniably captivating, the evidence for their literal existence as physical machines simply does not align with what we know about ancient civilizations. Lack of empirical evidence, the silence of the stones. Perhaps the most compelling and fundamental argument against the literal existence of Vimanas as advanced physical machines is the profound lack of concrete archaeological evidence. In the vast tapestry of human history, whenever a civilization develops a significant technology, it leaves behind tangible traces. These traces are the whispers of the past, preserved in the earth, waiting to be discovered by archaeologists. Yet for Vimanas, the silence is deafening. Consider for a moment the kind of evidence we would expect to find if advanced flying machines truly existed thousands of years ago. No physical wreckage or components. If Vimanas were involved in battles, if they crashed, if they were built and maintained, there should be some physical remnants. Imagine the discovery of a piece of an unknown alloy that defies modern metallurgy, or a fragment of a propulsion system, or a part of a control panel. Yet no such artifacts have ever been unearthed anywhere in India or beyond. We find ancient pottery, tools, weapons, jewelry, remnants of buildings, and even fossilized organic matter, but nothing that remotely suggests the existence of complex aerial vehicles. If these machines were made of precious metals, as some texts suggest, they would have been highly prized, and likely melted down over time, but even the form of their components would be recognizable in archaeological layers. The absence of even a single rivet, a strange piece of metal, or a peculiar engine part across millennia of archaeological excavation is a significant void. No archaeological sites related to their construction or operation. If Vimanas were being built, maintained, and operated, one would expect to find evidence of the infrastructure required. Imagine ancient factories or workshops where these complex machines were assembled, perhaps with specialized tools that defy our understanding of ancient technology. Think of ancient landing strips or hangars, large, flat, cleared areas, perhaps with unique markings or structures for housing and servicing these craft. Yet, there is no archaeological evidence of any such sites. We find ancient cities, temples, irrigation systems, roads, and fortifications, all consistent with the known technological capabilities of the time. But nowhere do we find the kind of specialized infrastructure that would be necessary to support a fleet of advanced flying machines. The sheer scale of the operations described in the epics, particularly in warfare, would necessitate significant industrial capacity and logistical support, none of which has been found. Contrast with evidence for other ancient technologies. To truly appreciate this point, let us consider what does exist from ancient India and other contemporary civilizations. We have abundant evidence of advanced ancient engineering. The intricate water management systems of the Indus Valley civilization, the sophisticated metallurgy that produced the rust-resistant iron pillar of Delhi, the precise astronomical observatories, the complex mathematical systems, and the monumental architecture of temples and stupas. All of these achievements, while impressive, are consistent with the known materials, tools, and scientific understanding of their respective eras. We can see the evolution of these technologies, the tools used to create them, and the waste products of their manufacture. For Vimanas, there is no such supporting material culture. They stand in isolation, described only in texts, without any corresponding physical footprint. The burden of proof argument. In any historical or scientific inquiry, the burden of proof lies with those making extraordinary claims. The claim that ancient India possessed advanced flying machines is an extraordinary one, as it fundamentally challenges our understanding of technological development. Therefore, it requires extraordinary evidence. While the textual descriptions are certainly intriguing, they are not, in themselves, empirical proof. They are literary accounts, without corroborating physical evidence, the kind of evidence that would stand up to scientific scrutiny. The claim remains in the realm of speculation and belief, rather than established historical fact. The absence of evidence, in this case, is often considered evidence of absence, especially when the claim is so radical. Imagine the painstaking work of archaeologists, sifting through layers of earth, carefully cataloging every shard of pottery, every tool, every bone. If something as revolutionary as a Vimana had existed, it would be an undeniable, world-changing discovery, leaving traces that would be impossible to miss. The fact that millennia of such dedicated work has yielded nothing of the sort is a powerful silence. Literary embellishment and poetic license. The art of the narrative. Let us now shift our focus to the very nature of the ancient texts themselves. From a literary and historical perspective, the most straightforward interpretation of Vimanas is that they are products of literary embellishment and poetic license. Ancient epic poetry, by its very essence, is not a dry historical record. It is a grand, imaginative art form designed to captivate, to inspire, and to convey profound truths through narrative and symbolism. Consider the inherent characteristics of epic poetry, like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana: grandiosity and hyperbole. Epics are inherently grandiose. They deal with cosmic stakes, divine beings, and human heroes of extraordinary stature. To convey the immense power of gods or the unparalleled skill of heroes, poets naturally employ hyperbole, exaggeration for effect. When a god needs to appear instantly, as swift as thought, Vimana is the perfect literary device. When a battle is to be portrayed as cataclysmic, divine weapons of unimaginable destructive power are invoked. These are not meant to be read as literal reports, but as artistic amplifications of reality, designed to evoke awe and wonder in the listener. The scale of destruction, the speed of travel, the power of the weapons, all are magnified to fit the epic scope. Purpose of myth. Myths serve multiple crucial functions in ancient societies. They are not merely entertainment. Moral lessons. They teach dharma, the principles of righteous conduct, and the consequences of adharma. The struggles of Rama or the dilemmas of Arjuna are vehicles for exploring universal ethical questions. Spiritual truths. They convey complex philosophical and spiritual concepts about the nature of reality, the divine, karma, and liberation, often through allegorical narratives. The journey of a Vimana to the heavens can symbolize spiritual ascent or the transcendence of earthly limitations. Entertainment and awe. Like any great storytelling, epics are designed to entertain and to inspire awe. The fantastical elements, including flying machines, contribute to the sense of wonder and magic that keeps the audience engaged and reinforces the majesty of the divine. Explaining the unexplained. In a world without scientific understanding of natural phenomena, myths often provided explanations for thunder, lightning, earthquakes, or the movements of celestial bodies. A thunderbolt from a Vimana could be a mythical explanation for a powerful lightning strike, attributed to divine agency. Comparison to other ancient myths with flying objects beings. The concept of flying beings or objects is universal in ancient mythology. In Greek mythology, Zeus rides a winged chariot, Hermes has winged sandals, and Pegasus is a winged horse. Egyptian mythology features winged deities and solar barks traversing the sky. Norse mythology speaks of Odin's eight-legged horse Sleipnir, which could fly. Even the biblical tradition speaks of Elijah being taken to heaven in a chariot of fire, and Ezekiel has vision of a wheel within a wheel descending from the sky. These parallels suggest that the human imagination, across cultures and continents, has always conceived of flight as a symbol of divinity, power, and transcendence. The Vimanas, in this context, are part of this shared human mythological heritage, not necessarily unique evidence of ancient technology. The role of imagination in storytelling. Ancient poets were masters of imagination. They created rich, vibrant worlds filled with wonders that stretch the boundaries of human experience. The Vimanas are a testament to this creative genius, a product of minds unconstrained by the mundane realities of their time, free to invent whatever served the narrative and thematic purpose. The vividness of the descriptions speaks to the power of their descriptive language, not necessarily the literal truth of the object. The concept of Adishayakti in Sanskrit literature. Sanskrit poetics explicitly recognizes Adishayakti as a figure of speech, a rhetorical device involving hyperbole or exaggeration to create a heightened effect. The descriptions of Vimanas, their speed, and their destructive power often fall squarely into this category. They are meant to impress and awe, not to be taken as precise technical specifications. Imagine a poet inspired by the majesty of a bird soaring high above, or the terrifying power of a thunderstorm. To describe a god's journey, they might combine these natural wonders with the most advanced human technology they knew, the chariot, and elevate it to a divine flying form. The result is a Vimana, a powerful symbol, not a blueprint. Misinterpretation of texts, the lens of modernity. Finally, a crucial aspect of skepticism involves recognizing the potential for misinterpretation of ancient texts through a modern lens. Our contemporary world is saturated with technology, particularly advanced aeronautics and weaponry. It is a natural human tendency to interpret the unknown or the ancient through the filter of our current understanding. Imposing modern technological concepts onto ancient narratives, this is a common pitfall. When we read fiery darts and immediately think of missiles or blinding light and interpret it as a nuclear flash, we are projecting our 21st century technological vocabulary and understanding onto texts written in a vastly different cultural and technological context. The ancient authors had no concept of nuclear fission or jet propulsion. They used the language available to them, drawing analogies from their own world to describe phenomena that were beyond their direct experience, or to convey divine power. To assume they were describing advanced technology implies a shared conceptual framework that simply did not exist. Anachronism. This is the error of placing something from a later historical period into an earlier one. Interpreting Vimanas as advanced aircraft is, from a skeptical viewpoint, anachronistic. It assumes a level of technological development in antiquity that is not supported by any other evidence. It's like finding a description of a fast horse-drawn carriage in a medieval text and interpreting it as a car, simply because it moves quickly. Linguistic nuances and translation bias. Ancient Sanskrit is a complex language, rich in metaphor, symbolism, and multiple layers of meaning. Translations, especially those by individuals keen on finding evidence for ancient technology, can sometimes emphasize certain interpretations over others, or lose the poetic nuance. A word that might be a metaphor for swiftness or divine power could be translated in a way that makes it sound more mechanical or technological. The choice of words in translation can subtly shift the meaning, making a poetic description seem more like a technical one. The problem with selective reading. Proponents of literal interpretations often engage in selective reading, highlighting the passages that seem to describe technical details, while largely ignoring the overwhelmingly fantastical and mythological context in which these descriptions are embedded. They might focus on the Mercury vortex, while overlooking the fact that the same texts describe gods changing shape, flying through sheer will, or performing feats that defy all known laws of physics. If one part of the text is taken literally, why not all of it? If one accepts the Vimana as a machine, must one also accept that gods literally have 4 arms, or that a monkey can grow to immense size? The mythological framework is often dismissed when it doesn't fit the technological narrative. The Vaimanika Shastra controversy as a prime example of modern fabrication misinterpretation. This text serves as a powerful cautionary tale. As discussed, the Vaimanika Shastra, purporting to be an ancient treatise on Vimana construction, was actually authored in the early 20th century. Its detailed technical descriptions, including the Mercury vortex engine, have been thoroughly debunked by scientists and Sanskrit scholars as being unworkable and anachronistic. It contains modern scientific concepts presented in an ancient guise. This shows how a modern fascination with Vimanas can lead to the creation of texts that appear to support the idea of ancient technology, but are in fact products of a later imagination. It highlights the human desire to fill the gaps in our knowledge with compelling, if unsubstantiated, narratives. The Vaimanika Shastra is a clear example of how modern interpretations can be projected back onto antiquity rather than being derived from it. Imagine a scientist calmly examining the claims. They would ask, where is the repeatable experiment? Where are the verifiable observations? Where is the consistent, testable theory? The ancient texts, while beautiful and profound, do not offer these. They offer stories. As we gently conclude this chapter, allowing these counter-arguments and skeptical perspectives to settle within your mind, consider their weight. They do not diminish the wonder or the cultural significance of the Vimana myths. Indeed, by understanding them as powerful literary and symbolic expressions, we can appreciate them even more deeply for what they truly are, a testament to the boundless human imagination, a rich source of spiritual wisdom, and a fascinating window into the worldview of ancient civilizations. The skepticism is not born of a desire to destroy wonder, but to ground our understanding in verifiable knowledge, allowing us to appreciate the myths for their inherent value, without imposing anachronistic interpretations upon them. Let these thoughts gently fade into the background of your consciousness as we prepare to bring our entire journey to a peaceful and contemplative conclusion. Let your mind continue to drift softly, gently, as we now approach the quiet culmination of our long, contemplative journey. We have soared through the ancient skies, listened to the whispers of venerable texts, and pondered the profound questions that arise from the enigma of the Vimanas. Now, as the last echoes of our exploration begin to fade, let us gather our thoughts, not to seek a definitive answer, but to embrace the enduring mystery itself, allowing it to settle within us like a peaceful, lingering dream. Conclusion: the enduring mystery, as the soft quietude of our shared journey gently envelops you. Imagine the vast expanse of time stretching behind us, filled with the echoes of ancient voices and the shimmering images of incredible flying machines. We have traveled far, from the very first spark of curiosity about these enigmatic craft to a deeper understanding of their intricate descriptions within the ancient Sanskrit texts. We have allowed our minds to wander through the sprawling battlefields of the Mahabharata, where gods and heroes engaged in aerial combat, their Vimanas swift and formidable, unleashing powers that resonate eerily with our modern fears. We have then drifted, with quiet reverence, into the enchanting narrative of the Ramayana, marveling at the magnificent Pushpaka Vimana, a flying palace that carried its occupants across continents, offering a serene bird's-eye view of an ancient world. We have meticulously explored the very characteristics and capabilities attributed to these Vimanas, their diverse designs, from multi-storied palaces to bird-like forms and silent spheres. Their self-moving propulsion, hinting at internal power sources beyond our common understanding. Their astonishing speed and maneuverability, allowing them to hover, ascend, descend, and move in any direction with impossible grace. And the chilling descriptions of the weaponry they deployed, from fiery darts to the apocalyptic Brahmastra, whose effects bear a haunting resemblance to the destructive power of modern atomic weapons. These details, whether literal or symbolic, paint a picture of an aerial technology that, if real, would have been truly revolutionary. And then we pause to contemplate the various interpretations that seek to make sense of these ancient wonders. We embrace the mythological interpretation, understanding Vimanas as profound symbols of divine power, as allegories for spiritual ascent, and as magnificent literary devices designed to inspire awe, teach Dharma, and expand the human imagination. In this view, they are the beautiful, soaring creations of ancient poets, their forms shaped by the boundless creativity of the human spirit, not by the rigid laws of engineering. This perspective finds comfort in the rich tapestry of universal myth, where flight often symbolizes transcendence and divinity across cultures. We then gently considered the intriguing ancient astronaut theory, which posits that these Vimanas might have been actual spacecraft, piloted by extraterrestrial beings who visited Earth in antiquity. From this perspective, the gods were advanced visitors, and their Vimanas were their ships, their technology so far beyond human comprehension that it was naturally interpreted through the lens of the divine. This theory invites us to re-examine ancient texts for technical clues, suggesting that the myths are distorted memories of real encounters, a hidden chapter in humanity's cosmic story. And with equal measure of curiosity, we explored the idea of suppressed knowledge, or lost technology, suggesting that ancient human civilizations, particularly in India, might have achieved a level of scientific and aeronautical sophistication that was later lost due to cataclysms, societal decline, or deliberate secrecy. This view challenges our linear understanding of progress, hinting at a forgotten golden age of human ingenuity, where the Vimanas were indeed products of human hands and minds, a testament to a peak of ancient science. Finally, we held these ancient descriptions up against the mirror of our modern world, drawing comparisons to modern aircraft. We noted the striking similarities in concepts like VTOL capability, aerial combat, and the deployment of powerful weapons from flying platforms. Yet with equal calm, we acknowledged the profound differences and limitations, the utter lack of concrete archaeological evidence for Vimanas, the fantastical elements that defy known physical laws, the often hyperbolic scale of destruction that leans more towards poetic exaggeration than historical fact, and the fundamental distinction that Vimanas are primarily piloted by gods, suggesting a divine, rather than purely human, origin for their capabilities. And so, as our journey comes to its gentle close, we are left not with a definitive answer, but with a profound and beautiful paradox. The Vimanas remain suspended in the liminal space between myth and possibility, between the boundless imagination of ancient poets and the tantalizing whisper of a forgotten past. This is the enduring mystery of the Vimanas. It is a mystery that continues to captivate minds across the globe, transcending cultural boundaries and academic disciplines. Why does this ancient concept hold such a powerful sway over us? Perhaps it is because it touches upon fundamental human desires, the yearning to fly, to transcend earthly limitations, to explore the unknown, and to understand our place in a vast and mysterious universe. It speaks to a deep-seated curiosity about our origins, about the true capabilities of ancient civilizations, and about the possibility that history, as we know it, might be far more complex and surprising than we imagine. The fascination lies not in finding a single simple answer, but in the very act of pondering the question. It is in the quiet contemplation of these ancient narratives that we find a space for wonder, a gentle challenge to our assumptions, and an invitation to expand our understanding of what is possible. Whether the Vimanas were chariots of the gods, ships from the stars, or the forgotten marvels of a lost human civilization, their stories continue to resonate, reminding us that the past is not a closed book, but a vast, echoing chamber of possibilities. Let the images of shimmering Vimanas, soaring through ancient skies, gently fade from your mind's eye. Let the questions they raise, the wonder they inspire, settle softly within you. There is a profound peace in embracing the unknown, in allowing mysteries to simply exist, without the urgent need for resolution. The enigma of the Vimanas will continue its quiet hum, a timeless melody in the background of our collective consciousness, inviting future generations to listen, to wonder, and to dream. Now, as the last words of our journey softly dissipate, allow yourself to drift further into a state of deep relaxation. The ancient skies are vast and silent once more, holding their secrets gently. May your mind find a peaceful resting place, filled with the quiet wonder of the enduring mystery. Sleep well. Let your mind continue to drift, softly, gently, as we now move beyond the structured chapters of our exploration and into a final, expansive space of quiet contemplation. We have journeyed through the ancient skies, listened to the whispers of venerable texts, pondered the profound questions that arise from the enigma of the Vimanas, and weighed the various interpretations. Now, as the last echoes of our exploration begin to softly dissipate, like mist dissolving in the morning sun, let us gather our thoughts. Not to seek a single definitive answer, for some mysteries are meant to linger, but to embrace the enduring wonder itself. This is our epilogue, a gentle, prolonged reflection on the nature of belief, the power of story, and the timeless allure of the unknown. Epilogue, the echoes of wonder and the nature of belief, as the soft quietude of our shared journey gently envelops you. Allow your breath to become even more steady, a deep, rhythmic tide within you. Imagine the vast expanse of time stretching behind us, filled with the echoes of ancient voices, the shimmering images of incredible flying machines, and the profound questions they continue to whisper across the millennia. We have traveled far, from the very first spark of curiosity about these enigmatic craft, through the intricate descriptions within the ancient Sanskrit texts, to the various lenses through which they have been viewed by modern minds. We have allowed ourselves to be carried by the narratives, to envision the Vimanas in their diverse forms, from multi-storied palaces gleaming like celestial jewels to sleek bird-like machines cutting through the clouds, to silent enigmatic spheres hovering with impossible stillness. We have felt the imagined hum of their self-moving propulsion, pondered their astonishing speed and maneuverability, and considered the chilling descriptions of the weaponry they deployed, whose destructive power resonates with a strange, unsettling familiarity in our modern world. We then paused in the quiet chambers of interpretation, allowing our minds to explore the comforting embrace of the mythological view, where Vimanas are seen as magnificent symbols of divine power, allegories for spiritual ascent, and testaments to the boundless creativity of ancient poets. In this light, they are not literal machines, but profound expressions of human imagination and spiritual truth, part of a universal tapestry of myth that elevates the human spirit. With an open mind, we also ventured into the intriguing realm of the ancient astronaut theory, where the Vimanas are reimagined as actual spacecraft, piloted by extraterrestrial visitors whose advanced technology was simply beyond the comprehension of ancient observers, leading them to describe these beings as gods and their craft as divine chariots. This perspective invites us to reconsider our origins and the possibility of cosmic encounters in our distant past. And with equal measure of curiosity, we explored the compelling idea of suppressed knowledge or lost technology, suggesting that ancient human civilizations, particularly in India, might have achieved a level of scientific and aeronautical sophistication that was later lost to the sands of time. In this view, the Vimanas were indeed products of human ingenuity, a testament to a forgotten golden age of science, whose echoes remain only in these tantalizing literary fragments. Finally, we held these ancient descriptions up against the mirror of our modern world, drawing comparisons to modern aircraft. We noted the striking similarities in concepts like vertical takeoff and landing, aerial combat, and the deployment of powerful weapons from flying platforms. Yet, with calm acceptance, we also acknowledged the profound differences and limitations, the utter lack of concrete archaeological evidence, the fantastical elements that defy known physical laws, the often hyperbolic scale of destruction that leans more towards poetic exaggeration than historical fact, and the fundamental distinction that Vimanas are primarily piloted by gods, suggesting a divine, rather than purely human, origin for their capabilities. And so, as our journey comes to its gentle close, we are left not with a single definitive answer, but with a profound and beautiful paradox. The Vimanas remain suspended in the liminal space between myth and possibility, between the boundless imagination of ancient poets and the tantalizing whisper of a forgotten past. They are a timeless enigma, a question mark etched into the very fabric of ancient literature. This is the enduring mystery of the Vimanas. It is a mystery that continues to captivate minds across the globe, transcending cultural boundaries and academic disciplines, reaching into the quiet corners of our curiosity. Why does this ancient concept hold such a powerful sway over us? Why do these stories, thousands of years old, still resonate with such force in our technologically advanced age? Perhaps it is because the enigma of the Vimanas touches upon fundamental human desires and aspirations. The deep, innate yearning to fly, to transcend earthly limitations, to rise above the mundane and see the world from a new perspective. It speaks to our desire to explore the unknown, to push the boundaries of what we believe is possible, to venture into the vastness of the cosmos and discover what lies beyond. It speaks to a profound human need to understand our origins, to unravel the secrets of our past, and to piece together the true story of humanity's journey on this planet. And perhaps it speaks to a quiet hope that the universe is far more wondrous, far more complex, and far more filled with unexpected possibilities than our current scientific models might suggest. The fascination lies not in finding a single, simple answer, a definitive yes or no, but in the very act of pondering the question itself. It is in the quiet contemplation of these ancient narratives that we find a space for wonder, a gentle challenge to our assumptions, and an invitation to expand our understanding of what is possible, both in the realm of human achievement and in the vastness of the universe. The value of this exploration is not in a final pronouncement, but in the journey of thought, in the gentle stirring of curiosity, and in the appreciation of the profound depths of human imagination and ancient wisdom. Consider the power of story itself. For millennia, humanity has used stories to transmit knowledge, to teach morality, to preserve history, and to explore the deepest questions of existence. The Vimana narratives are masterpieces of storytelling, rich in imagery, drama, and philosophical depth. Whether they are literal accounts or symbolic tales, their enduring power lies in their ability to ignite the imagination, to provoke thought, and to connect us to a shared human heritage of wonder. They remind us that the line between what we call fact and what we call fiction can sometimes be beautifully blurred, especially when viewed through the lens of deep time. The stories themselves are a form of truth, revealing the aspirations and perceptions of the people who created them. And what of the nature of belief? Why do some find compelling evidence for ancient technology, while others see only myth? This divergence highlights the different ways human beings seek meaning and truth. Some find comfort and clarity in empirical evidence, in what can be measured, tested, and replicated. For them, the absence of archaeological proof is a strong indicator. Others are drawn to possibilities that transcend current understanding, finding inspiration in the unexplained, in the gaps in our knowledge. For them, the vividness of the ancient descriptions, the uncanny parallels, are enough to spark a profound belief in something more. There is no single right way to approach such a mystery. The beauty lies in the diversity of human thought, in the ability to hold different perspectives with respect and curiosity. The Vimanas also serve as a gentle reminder of the ever-evolving nature of science and discovery. What is considered impossible today may become possible tomorrow, as our understanding of the universe expands. Concepts once dismissed as fantasy, like heavier-than-air flight, or communicating across vast distances, or even manipulating the very building blocks of matter, are now commonplace. Could it be that the ancient texts contain hints of scientific principles that we are only now beginning to grasp, or that we have yet to rediscover? The mystery of the Vimanas keeps this door of possibility gently ajar, inviting future generations of scientists, historians, and dreamers to continue the quest for understanding. It inspires us to keep pushing the boundaries of our own knowledge, to remain open to new paradigms, and to remember that the universe holds far more secrets than we can ever fully comprehend. So as our journey together comes to its peaceful conclusion, allow yourself to settle even deeper into a state of profound relaxation. The ancient skies are vast and silent once more, holding their secrets gently, patiently. The Vimanas, whether real or imagined, continue their timeless flight in the realm of human wonder. There is a profound peace in embracing the unknown, in allowing mysteries to simply exist without the urgent need for resolution. The enigma of the Vimanas will continue its quiet hum, a timeless melody in the background of our collective consciousness, inviting future generations to listen, to wonder, and to dream. May your mind find a peaceful resting place, filled with the quiet wonder of the enduring mystery. May your dreams be as vast and as limitless as the ancient skies. Sleep well.